Hi guys, today we start a discussion on the book Unbreaking India by Sanjay Dixit. And if you don't know already, Sanjay Dixit is a retired IS officer and host of the unbelievably popular YouTube channel called the Jaipur Dialogues. And he can be considered one of the stars of building up the Indic, the pro-Bharat narrative, along with probably Sanjay Deepak, Sanjeev Sanyal, shamsharma, kushal, mehra, abhijit, iyer, mitra, Abhinav Prakash, and the Vad podcast, etc. People like that. Now first we discuss and learn what were his reasons for writing this book. He says, I was having a conversation with a senior TV journalist of Madison Square Garden fame on WhatsApp. Z News had just then done a show on various kind of jihads, such as physical jihad, further subdivided into population jihad, love jihad, education jihad, land jihad, and direct violence, and ideological jihad, subdivided into economic, history writing, film and music, and secular disarming. This gentleman commented that the unspeakable communal hate that is being spread by this channel on daily basis is shocking, shameful, dangerous, and also sent it to me. Oh, okay, I need to first tell you that this is a very affordable book which you should definitely read and buy and read and see what a beautiful illustration it has. It has a strange illustration of India. I don't know if it's from any text or from where it is. It has different names for the different places of India. Okay, Pakistan is called Pakistan, Delhi is called Delhi, but then there is Rajputana, Munistan, Hyderistan, Farukistan, Bengal is called Bangistan, then there is Osmanistan. Maybe he'll talk about the meaning of the illustration of the book as we go deeper into the book. He continues, this is of course the standard staple of the secular liberal class of India, brought up as they are on a severely doctored history and diluted reality of the Muslim worldview. The entire conversation around the Citizenship Amendment Bill, which subsequently became an act, is based on a version of secular liberal dogma that completely ignores the realities of Islamic ideology, particularly the variant of this ideology that did prevail and prevails till date in India. To this WhatsApp message I replied, have you ever cared to read the Hidayah of Deoband and Fatwa Razviya of Bareilly? Your statement doesn't stand scrutiny in the face of these Islamic authorities. His response was along the lines, for which you demonize an entire community. Wake up and stop dividing India, have a good day. I responded, entire community is bound by taqleed. Learn some basics about Indian Hanafi Islam. He quit the conversation after this. What I have reproduced here, especially the last sentence, is the crux of the matter. It lies at the heart of the most fraudulent agitation in the history of modern India vis-a-vis the anti-CAA agitation. You may try and appeal to the reason and to the rational instinct of an entire community, but it does not matter. The community is forbidden to use aql or reason under the principle of taqleed. Reason is supposed to be exercised in 5 of the 6 sects of Sunni Islam and in all 5 sects of Shia Islam by only the authorized clerics called Mushtahid or Mujaddid or Muhaddis, and usually designated as muftis or high clerics authorized to issue fatwas. These are the worthies of Hanafi Islam who operate among the Indian Sunni Muslims, who constitute about 80% of the Indian Muslim population, and who form the bulwark of the anti-CAA agitation. The anti-CAA agitation is the culmination of what is a reaction riding on a felt emotion among the Islamic high priests of a loss of Islamic veto on national issues such as nullification of Article 370. And abolition of triple talaq, along with a failure to influence the judiciary into delaying a verdict on the Ram Mandir issue, realizing that their legal position was completely untenable. The book attempts to analyze Muslim politics and national politics from this standpoint of deep understanding of Muslim theology and general behavior. That is one thing you need to know about Sanjay Dixit, that and people like Sitaram, Goel, that these people always quote and are heavily invested into Muslim theology from Muslim sources, and especially non-English sources as well, because what happens a lot of time, as Arun Shori's book had pointed out in the early 90s, that often some of the darker and grayer parts of Islamic texts are not even mentioned in the English versions, which is why Hindu liberals and communists and highly educated Hindus think of Islam as a very beautiful and peaceful religion, but they either read Marxist interpretations of Islam or whitewashed English translations of Islamic texts. This behavior is no different. from the behavior of the Muslim and national politics that prevailed for the best part of pre-independence India and post-independence India. It is therefore my attempt to explore the historical events and ideologies that form the foundation of today's agitational politics by Muslim groups, supported by the left and the pseudo-secular class that goes by the fashionable term liberals. The book therefore cites copiously from record and from the books of stalwarts. I have found Dr. B.R. Ambedkar to be a particularly perspicacious scholar in analyzing the idea of Pakistan and the inability of mainstream Indian leadership to counter it because of what may at best be termed as political correctness. Please buy this book. I'm not going to read the whole book, obviously. I'm going to read little snippets from here and there. And so in order to get the full spectrum of the arguments, you have to buy this book. Pakistan is not a territory. Pakistan is an idea that fundamentally dictates that Muslims cannot live together with non-believers in general and Murti worshippers, or mushrikeen in particular. This idea did not take root in the Muslim majority areas of undivided India, but in the areas where Muslims were in minority. United Provinces was the fulcrum on which the ideologies fostered in Deoband, Bareilly and Aligarh rode high. The fundamental idea of Islam, that the sovereignty of the universe belongs to Allah alone, also enshrined in the constitution of Pakistan, manifests in its various sub-branches. One of the ideas that flows from it is that no Muslim should be ruled by a non-believer, and certainly not by a mushrik, Murti worshipper. Shirk, irtidad, nafak and gustakhi, idol worship, apostasy, hypocrisy and blasphemy, attract capital punishment in Islam, and it is the duty of every Muslim to constantly strive for Dar-ul-Islam or House of Islam, even when he is living in a land of non-believers, which is called Dar-ul-Harb or House of War, by mentally being at war with such a rule. This is the idea that is taught by the two principal teaching centers in India, by Deoband or Deobandis and by Ala Hazrat, Bareilly or Ahle Sunnat or Bareilvis. Bareilvis are actually a federation of the four principal Sufi tariqas, Qadris, Chishtis, Surawardis and the Ullaya faction of Naqshbandis, along with many smaller tariqas and sanads. The Hidayah of Deoband and the Fatwa-e-Razviya of Bareilly lay emphasis on this exclusivist, separatist and supremacist idea of Islam and give sanction to armed jihad. The Hidayah defines jihad as quote-unquote शरीयत में जिहाद दीनी हक की और बुलाने और उसे कबूल ना करने वाले से जंग करने को कहते हैं. This translates as jihad in Sharia means inviting people to accept Islam and to fight those who do not accept it, and liberals will tell you that jihad means fighting your inner demons. So this translates to jihad in Sharia means inviting people to accept Islam and to fight those who do not accept it. The Fatwa-e-Razviya has a full set of fatwas grouped under a generic heading Nafrat ke Ahkam, or ordinances or commandments of hatred, giving elaborate prescriptions on whom to hate and in what manner. The issue is not whether their interpretation is according to Quran or not. The issue is that the lay Muslim is not even authorized to do any interpretation different from that done by the ulama or the high clerics. So the people who are talking about being reformers in the Islamic section are wrong. They cannot they don't have the conceptual right of reforming Islam. That is the essence of taqlid. Once we understand this and also understand the vast funds controlled by the ulema, donated under the holy tithe of zakat and increasingly earned by the deceitful practice of halal certification, we can easily understand why the ulema wield such power over the masses, even with totally irrational ideas such as Pakistan or CAAs against Muslims. Political correctness only feeds into the power of this mushtahid class. The book also discusses ways to deal with this class. The sane voices among Muslims have no chance in front of the muqallid or taqlid following, a class of Muslims, as their voice simply does not count. They may be appreciated by the nationalist class and by other communities, but within their community, they carry no weight. I had once asked this question to Arif Muhammad Khan in an interview, and he instantly acknowledged that taqlid is the problem that insulates the Muslim masses from any rational discourse. The Article 370 quagmire was also the result of this inability in the national leadership to read the Muslim mind, To have first denied the principle of two nations and then to have accepted a separate identity for the only Muslim majority state of India was a betrayal of principles and an acceptance of expediency. But the ulema class welcomed it, for any separate identity is a victory for the Ummat. Though the leadership has finally nullified the article, if they are not careful, they may trip up again on the quicksand of political correctness and appeasement of the religious leadership. What a beautiful statement here. Sanjay Dixit is very well read and well educated. He is fluent in multiple languages and he is very good in English. And I have seen that in both his speeches and writings and articles. What a beautiful line here. See it from the perspective of literature. If they are not careful, they may trip up again on the quicksand of political correctness. The book explores the two important legislative interventions of the new government in its first 6 months and the predictable reactions to it against the backdrop detailed above. It has become a norm among public intellectuals to discuss the events impacting Pakistan, both in India and abroad, and our own secular establishment without any reference to the root causes. This book changes that paradigm of discussion. Through verifiable facts, the book is able to establish that the opposition to the nullification of Article 370 and the CAA is a mirror image of the pre-partition politics of the Muslim League, to which the newly developed secular liberal class has added its voice. This latter class is a transmogrification of the earlier socialists and liberals who have lost their relevance and mojo after the collapse of the Soviet Union and its economic model. Here he is absolutely right. I have read the book by Sitaram Goel called How I Became a Hindu, where he describes the scenario, the situation that was going on in the late 40s in India, and he points out, rightly so, that most Hindus didn't want, almost no Hindus wanted the partition, no Sikhs wanted the partition, no Jains wanted the partition, no Buddhists wanted the partition. Who wanted the partition? Some Muslims, not even Afghani Muslims. Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan told Mahatma Gandhi after the partition that you have thrown us to the wolves. He had fought his entire life for an united India, and he spent his rest of his life in house arrest in Pakistan. So half of Muslims didn't want Pakistan, some Muslims wanted Pakistan, and the communists wanted Pakistan because they thought that Muslims asking for a different nation is a show of poor Muslims, proletariat Muslims standing up against rich Hindus, those dumb people. I can't use any stronger words because my video won't get monetized then. It has become a norm among public intellectuals to discuss events impacting Pakistan. Okay, and then here Sanjay Dixit is arguing that those similar class of people don't have a voice in Indian society anymore because Soviet Union has fallen. The loss of power to influence issues and events by the liberal media has added to the urgency it often exhibits. The Marxist destruction of the Indian epistemic and logic traditions has provided an easy ingress for masking the irrational stance of the Islamic clerical class. The book is meant to be more in the nature of a generalist's impression of the quickly unfolding events rather than a scholarly account. The basic writing was completed in a period of less than a month. The project got delayed because of the corona pandemic lockdown. Further delay occurred because I had to change Bloomsbury as a publisher after the book had been listed for pre-orders on Amazon. Oh my god. He had to change the publisher after it got ordered it for pre-orders on Amazon and other e-commerce marketplaces because of my principled stand on their reprehensible action in pulping of a book called Book on Delhi Riots under the influence of their white masters and leftists. Yes, I don't remember. I think that lawyer, a woman, something, Arora, wrote the book on Delhi Riots, which was supposed to come out from Bloomsbury, and all leftist intellectuals and even historian William Dalrymple, that stupid guy, that liar, even he all the time talks about free speech, and he pressured Bloomsbury to not print that book, which later came out from the publishers of this book called Gadur Publications. They also have a nice book called, I have that book, I haven't read it yet. It's called Reclaiming Hindu Temples by historian Dr. Chandni Sengupta. You all should read that book as well. I have addressed this book to the general public with the object of spreading the light of basic education rather than to the demands of high academia. That is why the discussion has not wandered into abstruse theory and has liberally borrowed from various sources. I must thank Rajiv Malhotra ji for writing the foreword of the book and Sandeep Balakrishna for permitting me to use material from his publications. I have to thank late Sitaram Goel and his Voice of India publications that have provided me with a beacon of light to navigate the labyrinths of the past, yes. I thank the Jaipur Dialogues Forum for its invaluable help in helping me procure rare source material. I must also thank elections.in for providing me with the elections data for the pre-independence period.